Hey, my friends, here we are. It is Chat with Matt. I had to check where I am. It's Chat with Matt. It is the 16th of January, 2019. Chat with Matt, episode 3. Here we go. We're going to talk about sleep. It's a freaking big subject, isn't it? It's been on my list for a long time not to do Chat with Matt. Hey, Vesna, how are you, sister? So we're going to talk about sleep, which I've just been contemplating for the last half an hour. I realise I'm about to sit here for half an hour and talk about sleep. What a big subject it is. And it's ticking through my head now. Maybe I should do a whole freaking package on this thing. I know I've had written on my list here, not this list, but this list. I've got list upon list here. I need a list of my lists. To produce some MP3s around sleep, not just getting to sleep, not just staying asleep, but there's so many different aspects to this sleep thing. I'm thinking there might be a suite of MP3s to help people with whatever's going on sleep-wise for them. It's a loaded topic. People get very, very there's a lot of charge around the sleep topic, obviously because it's incredibly frustrating and uncomfortable to not be sleeping well. A lot of people really struggle with this. It does affect quality of life big time, right? Some people much more than others, but it's touched us all from time to time, having what we'd call a bad night's sleep. Not getting enough sleep, feeling tired during the day, sleep issues. So where do we go? How do we categorize all of this? What is sleep anyway, right? What is sleep? Well, it's a state where it's a state of consciousness with limited, with our sensory brain, anyway, the brain that's responsible for monitoring stuff around us and doing actions is basically very inactive, and we are in a rest and digest. Hopefully, see, not always, it's the thing. Theoretically, we should be in a rest and digest brain pattern, emotional, hormonal pattern as well. What do we call that thing? Nervous system, right? The rest and digest, the sympathetic nervous system or parasympathetic. I always get mixed up which one's which. It doesn't really matter, but there's a whole heap of stuff of rebuilding ourselves that is theoretically going on during our sleep time. As animals, humans are intended to be asleep while it's dark and awake while it's light. That has gone to rack and ruin only in recent time, really, since artificial lighting has become more and more prevalent. We're only talking like 150 years here. Previous to that, lighting the place up. Hey, Lena, how are you? Lighting the house up at night or whatever was expensive, and very few people were able to do it for very long at all. The lighting that we had was much more natural. Firelight, gaslight, candlelight. Not nearly as very little white light involved in it, very little brightness, and it didn't really replicate daylight. So it didn't influence, because we monitor through our eyes the UV levels and all sorts of different levels, and that affects the production of hormones and stuff in our bodies, which affects our sleep, right? It's melatonin and all of that stuff, right? I'm not going to get into the stuff because I don't know it very well. I'm not a biologist. Hey, Sister Shaz, how are you? Talking about sleep today, and we are going to talk about insomnia, and basically I want to spend more time talking about what you can do about it. But first off, we're just sort of discussing what goes wrong with sleep. So there's a whole heap of things around why we don't sleep at night, or why we don't sleep well at night, because there's there's three things basically that we can measure sleep by: quantity of sleep, quality of sleep, and the satisfaction you feel from the sleep that you had. Because sometimes you can sleep plenty of length, and even the quality of your sleep was quite good. In fact, in terms of how often you woke up and whether you were disturbed or not, can be fine from a medical point of view, but still you don't feel satisfied with the amount of sleep you got or the quality of the sleep that you had, which is quite subjective. All of it is subjective, right? Some people do really well on 5 hours sleep a night, and some people would find that absolutely torturous, and they like to have 9 hours of sleep a night. There's no rights and wrongs there, and we all change as different phases of our life. Hey, Sister Sylvie, how are you? So we all change through different phases of our life, and that can be short-term and it can be long-term, how much sleep we need. I know for myself, there are times when my body and my being, more than just my body, requires more sleep, and I will sleep for like 11 hours or even 12 hours sometimes. There's a lot going on. While my body is here resting, while my brain is switched off. Soul is off doing something else, right? So a soul can't be in two places at once. We can't be working so much on the different dimensional planes and inhabiting a body. So we tend to do that work off planet. Off planet's a term. It doesn't necessarily need to be off planet, but out of our physical 3D dimensional life, while our physical body sleeps. And so sometimes we may find ourselves knocked out while we are doing other things. Those other things also can have a repercussion on our physical vessel, because while our soul is doing that, we're still grounding ourselves in through this body. That's what's giving us an anchor to actually achieve lots of things. So it's complex. And sometimes you wake up after having a long sleep, a deep sleep, what you might call a good sleep for your body, and still you feel fatigued, and which can be a little bit annoying. Anyhow, but I think today we're mainly talking about, I was throwing open a huge can of worms here, but we're mainly talking about people who are feeling that they're not getting enough sleep, or the quality of their sleep is not very good. Insomnia, right, is a term that we use for that. Several things, lots of things actually. How do we break down what can be going on with insomnia, right? So mental stress, number one probably cause of insomnia. Hormonal imbalances, another big cause of insomnia. Physical pain, another big cause of insomnia, right? A physical body that is not feeling comfortable is hard to relax and allow yourself to get to sleep. Pain or discomfort, irritation, could be itchiness, for example, makes it very hard for us to allow ourselves to relax or descend our conscious levels into a space where sleep occurs. Sleep is one of those things, a little bit like meditation and other altered states of consciousness, that you can't actually try hard to do. You can't make yourself sleep. It doesn't matter how much you want to sleep, you can't make yourself sleep. All you can do is set the conditions to allow sleep to occur, and then relax and allow it to happen when it happens, if it happens. One of the big problems I feel with sleep, feels like I'm talking dime to the dozen here, but one of the please feel free to chime in and send some messages and stuff. Seems like I'm delivering a lecture, which I haven't planned, which is always interesting. But one of the big issues with sleep, I feel, for many people is a lack of acceptance around what is. A lot of the time when people are having quote-unquote trouble sleeping, one of the things that perpetuates that issue with sleeping is a judgment that it's wrong for them to be having trouble sleeping right now, right? Quote-unquote, they want to be asleep right now. They should be asleep right now. It's 3 a.m., for goodness sake. I should be asleep right now, but I'm not. And whenever we're doing something against what we think we should be doing, then we tend to contract and make the stress worse, right? Because we've now made ourselves wrong. We're on the wrong side of the should, which then perpetuates stress, which doesn't help sleep, because sleep is a state that happens when we relax. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, relaxation is important. So yes, we're moving into that, Sister Sylvie, exactly. Can you help me relax about the fear of being non-functional if I do not manage to sleep? So I understand that in the past, many of us have experienced a lack of functionality in our wakeful state, put down to the fact that we didn't sleep very well. Right, so we haven't slept very well, and now we feel that it's hard to concentrate, it's hard to focus, it's hard to have physical vitality to do things. Also, I think we've all, and that's true, right? And there's very good physiological reasons for that. Hard science, you could call hard science around the fact that if you don't get much sleep, then it's hard to. Your body's only got a limited amount of resources and whatnot. There are people, though, that live on very, very little sleep and live very active lives with very good focus and all of the rest of it. We've all experienced also ourselves having days where we haven't had much sleep the night before for whatever reason. It might have been we were out partying when we were younger or older, not saying that partying's only something for the young. And we've been, hey, Sister Trina, how are you? Aloha. I don't know much Hawaiian, but namaste, that I do recognise. So there's been times where we haven't slept very well, and yet we have functioned quite well the next day. So the point to relax around, Sister Sylvie, is that it doesn't have to be that way. The issue is that if we have a belief that if we don't get a good night's sleep, we're not going to function well. If we're holding that belief, then it's going to hold true for us most of the time, right? That we're aware that we didn't have a good night's sleep. We're already worried that we're not going to function well the next day, and therefore we don't. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Good morning, Sister Emily Rose from the Blue Mountains. So it's up to us to choose what we believe. It's up to us to help ourselves soften our beliefs. Understand that you don't need to let go of a belief completely, but allowing yourself to soften around it provides more room for expansive opportunity, right? So if you just frame it for yourself or phrase it for yourself, wow, I didn't sleep very well last night, that could mean I'm not going to function so well today. Let's see, right? Let's open the door for possibility that maybe we could function well today. Maybe we can overcome this. Maybe if we set an intention that we're going to nurture ourselves because we know we didn't sleep well last night, so we're going to look after ourselves, but we're not holding a strong belief that this means I'm going to have a lousy day, this means I'm not going to function well, this means I'm going to be tired and irritable and not focused and lethargic all day, right? When we contract ourselves around thinking we already know what the future is going to bring, then of course we're going to influence that future. So what can you do? This is the important thing. I think what we want to get over in the next 15 minutes, because that's the first 15 minutes of my half-hour talk over with, my chat. What's important? Well, let's not use that word. What's going to benefit you is when you find yourself in a state where you are not sleeping and you think that you should be, right? Some time of night and you are awake for whatever reason, whether you've got physical pain in your body, whether you've got thoughts running through your mind, whether you're not sure why you're awake but you don't seem to be able to go back to sleep. Maybe you've just had a dream that was a little bit disturbing. Maybe you jolted in your body. Maybe there's a fear that arose emotionally from within you or energetically, whatever. All sorts of reasons, right? Because all sorts of stuff is going on in the night. Many of us are out astral traveling at the night, and sometimes we come back from such a travel with a jolt and our body wakes up and we get a hit of adrenaline, stress hormones because of the shock of that. Sometimes we live in areas where there are physical noises that occur in the night that make it hard to sleep as well. Because to sleep, we need to relax. To relax, we need to feel safe, ideally. Hey, Sister Luna. So ideally, we can find places to sleep that have a degree of security for us, that we feel that we are safe to actually shut our sensories down, so that we can sleep. Hello, Ms. Luna. So that's it. And if there's all sorts of noises, sirens, people shouting and screaming, gunfire, whatever going on at night, that is going to influence your ability to sleep. Of course, some people have become habituated to those sort of noises, and so it's normal. And then others of us would be completely freaked out in that situation. All of it is different. Some people have a real difficulty sleeping when it's quiet, right? They're so habituated to needing noise that if all of a sudden there's silence, that's alarm bells, right? So horses for courses, all sorts of different scenarios create different levels of stress for different people, which inhibit the ability to sleep, because ideally sleep requires us to relax with confidence into a space that we feel that we're safe in, and we can shut down and allow our body to rest and allow our mind to come off alert. Of course, we're always monitoring sounds. We're always monitoring senses on a level, right? There's a part of our brain that does not sleep. It's ready just in case the fire's gone out and wild animals have got in or whatever, and we need to act to preserve our life. So there's, basically what I'm saying with all of that is set up your sleep environment so that it's conducive for you to get the best night's sleep. And that's just acts of self-care, whether that's, blacking out your windows properly so different light sources don't cause issue, whether that's creating as soundproof, best temperature, all of that, airflow, ventilation, quality of space to sleep in is going to benefit you. But let's get back to what I was about to talk about, which is, what do you do if you're awake at night when you feel that you shouldn't be, right? So the first thing to do is let go of the shouldn'ts. If you've woken up in the night, make the most of that situation using wax in the ear. Yeah, earplugs you can use. Also, Sister Sylvie, if there's noises that are either coming from within the room with a partner or from outside of the room. So what to do at night when you find yourself awake? Best is to keep resting, right? Rather than get up and start doing things, rather than to, please, best not to, for most of us, allow technology to enter that space. If you feel you need to rest, right? Different story if you've had enough sleep and you've awoke feeling that I've had whatever I need, and now what to do. If you've had enough sleep, then get up and start being productive by all means. If you don't feel that you've had enough sleep, if you know in your heart that your body or your mind or your whole being needs more rest, and now you are awake, what do you do? Right. For me, what's important to do is, one, keep my eyes closed, right? Not looking at stuff. I don't have a clock in my room. I have an alarm, but I can't see it. I trust my alarm. And I trust that if I don't need to get up until my alarm goes off. And so if I'm awake and my alarm hasn't gone off, then I just keep resting. There's no looking at what the time is, because it doesn't matter, right? My alarm might go off in 10 minutes or it might not go off for another 5 hours. I don't know, and I don't care, right? That's the point. I don't care, because if it hasn't gone off yet, I'm choosing to keep resting. Now, I'm not trying to get back to sleep, because trying to get back to sleep doesn't work. It creates more stress. I've now set myself a goal, but rather I choose to keep resting. So I keep my eyes closed, I bring my focus to my breath, and I choose to be in that moment, right? To be in that moment. So I'm breathing with the intention of allowing myself to be the biggest blessing that I can be for myself and for the whole world. So it's not about having to do things to feel productive. It's about choosing to relax myself on all levels. Whatever has awoken me, whether it's mental tension, whether it's, something that's disturbed me, because what's happening in the sleep for most of us, most of the time, is we're going through a process of subconscious purification. We're allowing our subconscious mind to empty out. So a lot of what has got us wound up like a spring is bullshit from the past that we no longer wish to carry. And it has come up in us to be cleared out. As it's being cleared out, we feel it and it influences us and it creates a reaction, a stress reaction, right? Thoughts from the past, fragments of trauma from the past, are coming up to clear out of us while we are sleeping. It comes up, but it influences us as it comes up. We're having dreams about it as it comes up. That leaves a residue in our senses that can make it harder to sleep. But if we choose to acknowledge that and we choose to accept that and we choose not to make it wrong, but rather than just to keep with the process and just now we're conscious, but we're still in a resting state. This is still time that, for me personally, I'm talking about my personal practice, still time for me that I've set aside to rest my body, to rest my mind. So then I just close it down, right? I don't allow myself to go into thinking about stuff. I'm choosing, and it does take discipline, right? It's choosing to maintain a space where I can just be myself, my practice. So I'm basically doing a meditative practice, and however long that might go on for. I know there's been times where I've woken up 2 hours after I've gone to bed, and for the rest of the night, I've just breathed my way through this type of practice, right? And it makes for a very long night. Well, it can be, Shaz, but it's not always that, right? So Shaz wrote in and says, my understanding is that it's spirit wanting to contact with our higher self. Sometimes it's our higher self wanting to contact with us, right? With us as the personality. There's all sorts of things that are going on that can awaken us. We can be out doing all sorts of things as a soul being, as a higher self being. We can be doing all sorts of things on astral levels. We take our astral body with us sometimes and sometimes not, depending on what dimension we're visiting, depending on what mission, quote unquote, we're doing. It is a vast field, and the point is you don't need to understand it with this. We don't need to understand what's going on. For me personally, all it's about is accepting with this that I don't understand, but what is going to benefit me, the totality of the being, right now. And no matter what time of night it is, if my alarm hasn't gone off, if it's not time for me to arise and get into my doing day, then I'm going to rest my body, rest my mind, breathe with intention to keep aligning with the being that I be, to breathe in what serves me and breathe out what doesn't. And that's all that matters. And if I fall back to sleep and get back into that process of doing whatever on astral levels or doing whatever subconsciously for myself, or both at once, of course, happens, then fine. And if I don't go back to sleep, the fact that I've kept my eyes closed, the fact that I've kept breathing with the intention to relax and choosing to maintain my body as best I can, to breathe in what serves me, to breathe out what doesn't, to allow the emotional process to keep running, to allow the mental relaxation to occur, I'm going to arise in the morning having done the best that I can and get on with my day, trusting that I've received enough rest to get on with it all. Okay, Emily Rose, that point about the subconscious clearing, we are all doing that consciously too. Yes, correct. So that helps my mind accept less sleep is still healthy for mind. From the science I've read, the need is largely for the REM sleep to deeply clear. The body can be rest while I'm awake if it feels tired. Yeah, so REM sleep is important, but the point is, it's no point getting uptight if it's not happening because it doesn't help, right? So yeah, science is all around. There's a lot more science coming out now about the need for sleep, how important sleep is for a majority of for all sorts of different levels of us, physically as well as mentally, and we know spiritually a lot of stuff is happening in the sleep. But the point is, what do you do when you're not asleep? because making the fact that it's wrong that you're not asleep is not going to actually help you much, right? It doesn't actually help you get back to sleep. And if you don't get back to sleep, lying there frustrated that you're not asleep also doesn't help. So the best thing that you can do is accept that you're not asleep right now and just relax without the need to go back to sleep, but with just allowing the best conditions, the best opportunities for you to sleep. If you're experiencing physical pain, whatever it might be when you've awoke, right, whether you've got a chronic back issue or an acute back issue, whether you've got a headache or chronic sinus issues or whatever, right, teeth pain, all sorts of things, digestive issues can make it very uncomfortable to sleep. But again, making that wrong, getting frustrated, feeling like a victim of all of that is not going to actually help you in the long run. The best thing you can do is find acceptance around that. And acceptance doesn't mean that it's going to stay forever, right? Acceptance is just choosing not to fight against it so that you can relax, right? So you can relax. And the more that you relax, the more you're going to benefit. Ultimately, right? For me, relaxation is the key to all transformation, to happiness, right? I put relaxation pretty close to the foundation required for happiness, right? Because until you can relax, your heart can't even open, right? When you're not relaxed. When you're not relaxed, either physically, mentally, or emotionally, your heart's shut. End of story, right? So this is it. It is, really, really important. So finding ways that we can relax is paramount. So what stops us from relaxing, right? Safety fears, number 1. Number 2, physical pain. Number 3, emotional pain, right? Mental fears, physical pain, emotional pain. That's basically what stops us from relaxing. And fears include all sorts of planning for the future, because we only do that from fear, right? When we're lying awake trying to work out how to make let's just use an example, our business succeed, we're only doing that from a space of fear. You might be kidding yourself and saying it's because of my ambition to do the best that I can, but basically that's a fear, right? Because if you truly relaxed into who you are, you wouldn't be planning nothing, because you would understand that intuitively in the moment you're going to act in the best way, and you don't need to spend time mentally trying to work out what's going to happen in the future or how you should proceed or what you need to do. You're going to allow that stuff to arise. So all of that pre-planning BS that goes on in our mind, all of that thinking about what we should do, and all of that going over the past, trying to analyze what's happened, it's all fear. It's all fear. It's all a lack of confidence in who you truly are that's projected or propelled your mind into a place where it's taken charge out of a fear-based agenda, right? Your mind has taken charge of your whole vessel from a fear-based agenda. You won't survive, you won't succeed unless you start doing what you, quote unquote, should do, right? From this whole mental indoctrination that we've been educated into. So the more that you can relax into a connection with yourself, the more that you're going to relax. The more that you can feel that you're a divine being and there is nothing you need to do on this plane to make yourself good, right, and proper. You already are completely worthy as you are, inherently as the divine being. Then you can relax, right? When you can just be in the room with yourself in the middle of the night, not sleeping, and feel okay, acceptance, then you're on the winning. You're winning. You're basically winning the game of life when you can really relax into doing nothing in the middle of the night, just lying with yourself in connection with the spirit that you be, in connection with the being that you be, breathing in and just allowing your light to grow stronger, breathing out and allowing that light to purify you on all levels, allowing your past to dissolve. That's it, my friends. My goodness, that's half an hour. That was Chat with Matt. I don't know if we covered everything that I was planning to, because I didn't really make any plans. obviously there will be more questions around sleep. So I'm very, very happy to keep this conversation going. I know there was comments that scrolled through. I was in a bit of a rave there, and I didn't answer a lot of it. I didn't actually read it. That's why I didn't answer it. I will go back, look through the comments, and write anything that I feel is appropriate, or I will invite you to carry it on as we move forward from here. That was Chat with Matt, episode 3. Much love. I'll speak to you this time next week. This is intended to be a weekly thing at the same time, the same place. Well, I might be in a different place, but it'll be the same place for you on the net, on Facebook. And I will post it to YouTube shortly after this. So much love to you all, my friends. Please, please, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, any comments. I am going to, he said, maybe I'll make it here, because last time I said I'm going to do something on Facebook, I stuck to it when I said I was going to make my new meditation MP3, and I've done it, and it's awesome. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll post it somewhere in the comments. I haven't done much advertising for it yet. I sent an email out, but it is really, really good. A 1 hour meditation. It's just an ambient soundtrack with layers of energy underneath it, layers of light language, layers of ohms, layers of me just meditating with it, with intention to support you all in a community. So that's available on my store. I will put a link for it. But what I was going to do is say, I'm going to make some MP3s around sleep. I don't know where to start. It's a big topic. So there's a few different aspects of sleep that I would like to support people with. Maybe I might start with making an ambient track specifically for sleep, something that you can play on low volume in your room to create the best atmosphere to relax into a state that is conducive of sleep. That sounds like a good place to start. Maybe I will do that this week. Or something else. I'm holding it open, but I am going to start producing some MP3s around sleep. Let's do that, because I recognize that it is a big topic and it does influence people's quality of life and their ability to spiritually transform. So, much, much love to you all, my friends. I'll speak to you again next week. Bye for now. Bye-bye. This finish button on my phone, it never works.